question. We need to add that, just that sentence to the motion, so it's not in here at this moment. Can you hear me, Mike?
Do we have a policy on donations? I can't recall if we do or not.
Not at this
That's
moment.
a valuable one to have.
The way I read the agreement, it clearly states that it's a gift to the village, so the village would take possession. I read the remainder of that paragraph to be an offer from the society to assist with any unforeseen issues related to damage and making a financial commitment. I don't think that that affects the transfer of the ownership and the acceptance of the gift. So the village would essentially, if something unforeseen happened and it had to be moved or reconstructed in another area or taken out, 20 years down the road, as you mentioned, that would be within the village's right to do that. Obviously, everyone intends for it to be a wonderful thing that educates and it stays there for a long time, but if something unusual happened, the village would have the right to take the appropriate steps to handle that.
Can you just add that into the motion?
What agreement are you talking about? Is that Nathan? I don't know what agreement you're referencing.
Well, I'm just looking at it's on page, I think it's on page 221 of the packet. Looking at, is that right? 221. Yeah. There's just a short
Right,
one-page
it's right,
summary
but
and
it's
then there's a
just assigned
signature.
just to the village. It's not really a,
Rebecca? So she asked the same question I had asked earlier.
Accept the donation of 3 signs for interpretive signs for River Park for the understanding in the letter, including an understanding that they're, once donated, they're the property of the village, and the village will have the right to the future conditions of this sign.
Second, trustee Bachor.
Can you repeat that?
Repeat it?
Yes, please.
Okay. I make a motion to accept the donation of the historic interpretive signs for River Park from the Shorewood Historical Society as outlined in the August 2nd, 2018 memo from the Historical Society, but with also the understanding that once donated there, the property of the village and the property controls what happens to the sign.
Still second.
Nathan? Does that cover it?
Yep, that absolutely covers it. I think that that's implicit in the language that's there, but there's no reason, if you want to make that as part of the motion, that's fine as well.
At least it's a formal record. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Clerk, can you reread the motion and then we will take a vote? Unless,
I'm going to do my best.
okay.
To accept the donation of the historical sign from the Historical Society is outlined in the memo dated August 2nd, 2018. But once it's property of the village will control the future of the sign. It'll be done better once I can re-listen to the tape. Seconded by trustee Bachhorst.
Is that okay? All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If none, do you want to take a roll call since we can't really tell a voice on the phone?
Sure.
Okay.
Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Carpenter.
Yes.
President Rosick.
Yes.
Trustee Amenta.
I abstain.
Okay. Trustee Bachhorst.
Yes.
Trustee Maher.
Yes.
Trustee McKay.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries 6 yeses, no nays, and 1 abstain. Thank you so much. We appreciate the gift and keep them coming. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the the actual approval of our consent agenda. Do we take a motion?
Yes.
So do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda. Trustee Mark.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there anybody who would like to remove an item? I would like to remove 5B. Any others? Okay, seeing none. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda with item 5B removed, say aye.
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 Any opposed? No opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0. 5B, special event permit, Camp Bar Packer Party, September 23rd, 2018. Hello.
Hi.
How are you today? I only had one, oh, do you just want to come say your name and?
Sure. Hello, everybody. Madam President, Board. Paul Hackbar, 3901 North Lake Drive, Shorewood. Happy to take any questions.
Well, first, thank you for hosting this event for our
Of course.
community. I know that everyone has enjoyed it. The reason I pulled it is I wanted to make sure that we are, that you were communicated that about security. I saw the police's letter in there, and I know Rebecca has let me know she communicated with you. We did offer, the outside event to have their own event management staff in place in lieu of a officer. So I just wanted to make sure I hear from you what you decided on that, which one you wanted to do.
Yeah, I'm fine with the police department. I think that's great. I think the only thing was adjusting the times. So I think the times were a little, what was the times around there?
12 to 5.
12 to 5. So the Packer game's done at like 3 to 3:15 generally.
Okay.
So we would only need an officer at like 3:30 or 4 if you want to run the nearest hour. But I don't think they need to be there until 5. We're generally cleaned up well before 5 o'clock. So if you want them there, that's fine. But usually immediately after the game, everyone disperses and heads home, so.
Is that okay with just the regular motion? Do we need to adjust anything? They just get billed by the time, correct?
If anything, I would do like 11:30 to 3:30. That would probably be the peak times when people are there. Because usually from 11 till noon, it's everyone finding a seat. And then the game's usually done at 3, barring overtime. You know, all these things that we run into. But yeah, I don't think past 4 o'clock would even be an issue, so. But whatever you're happy with, I'm fine.
Okay. That was all I had. Thank you so
Great.
much.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions? If not, we just need a motion. Yep. Do I have a motion on this agenda?
I motion to approve a special event application, a short-term cabaret license and extension of premise from Camp Bar to hold a Packers party event for Sunday, September 23rd, 2018.
Second.
Second. Jamie Bachman.
Oh, we already have trustee Carpenter. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Good luck on your event.
Thank you.
The next item we have on our agenda is a public hearing, which there are none. Is there anyone in the audience, any citizens that would like to be heard on matters that are not on today's agenda? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to new business. The first item for consideration is an RFP for audit services. Who wants to introduce it?
I can do that. Our current RFP for audit services expired with the conclusion of the audit for the 2017 fiscal year. Staff has put together the enclosed document for board review prior to issuing for the next 3-year period with subsequent options to renew for an additional 2. That is consistent with the village's purchasing policy. Should the board approve to reach this, we're going to get going on them right away with the intent of trying to award the contract on September 17th so we can schedule our preliminary field work. Staff also feels it's important to have a board representative as a member of the selection group reviewing the responses to the RFP, and ask that the body designate a representative for that to assist the village manager and myself in reviewing responses to the proposal. So,
And just to clarify, trustee Amenta, as our standing committee chair for the budget and finance, has volunteered to do that. And so without any objections, she will represent us on this RFP. Was that it, Mark?
yep,
Okay.
any comment?
Does anybody have any questions for Mark on the RFP? Seeing none, if someone wants to make a motion?
I move the approval of the auditing service RFP and the designation of village board member trustee Amenta to participate in the selection committee to assist staff in reviewing prospective proposals for the recommendation to the village board.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is to consider awarding crossing guard contract. Who wants to introduce this? Nathan.
Thank you. It's okay if I move over here. There's an update that I just wanted to provide, because the last time there was a question regarding whether or not we could ask the school board to indemnify us. In other words, the rationale at the time was that since the crossing guards being provided by the village were really for the benefit of the school district, that body should otherwise protect the village from any liability that the village could be alleged to have on any future claim or lawsuit. My understanding is that the chief reached out to them, he hasn't heard anything back. But regardless of the response given by the school board, as we always do, have also taken other steps to protect the village from any claim or suit. The proposed contract requires the crossing guard company to have the village named specifically as an additional insured under a liability policy that would be issued to the crossing guard company. Further, in any suit, the village is always protected from state claims against municipalities that limit claims and damages under state law. And as would be the case in any situation in which the village might get sued as a result of the act of an independent contractor, we would also then tender the defense of any such suit to that contractor. In the unlikely event that the village would be sued based upon some independent act by a village official in regards to the crossing guards, as opposed to the employees of the contractor, the school district may or may not want to indemnify the village in that situation. Again, I don't know what their answer is going to be. To protect the village from liability in regards to the crossing guards, again, as I mentioned earlier, we've taken those additional steps to include us as additional insureds under the liability policy. If the school board would agree to do that, they might have to pay an additional premium to their carrier or get an additional insured endorsement. And again, I wanted to say this because the chief hadn't heard anything back on that request, so I wanted to lay all this out because that was part of the motion that was made previously to further explore this. So I think that my understanding, I spoke to the chief, I know he's at a conference, but he called me this afternoon, and I spoke to him a little bit, and his concern was that if we push it out, if we don't do anything to at least authorize the police department to enter into an agreement subject to further confirmation by the village attorney, that we might run up against needing crossing guards before we have another meeting. So I just wanted to give that report.
Does anyone have any questions for Attorney Barrett?
I'm a little unclear then. So we would approve, what staff is recommending that we approve this and no longer pursue any additional indemnification from the school district? Or is there going to continue to be discussions about this?
Well, that would be a policy question. You could do it two ways. You could still insist upon indemnification from the school district, and if that's the case, we would continue to pursue that. And if they said no, we would have to come back to the drawing board. Based upon the other steps that we've taken with the additional insured endorsements, you could remove that requirement and say, subject to final approval by the village attorney, that we would approve entering into the agreement with either A, additional insured status under the liability policy issued to the contractor, or B, an agreement from the school districts to indemnify us in that manner. So as long as we're covered under either A or B, we really reach the